This message was blocked 3 times, but God just said, "Let them see it now." What you're about to open was meant only for you. 3 times, this message tried to reach you. 3 times, heaven whispered it into the wind, commanding it to be seen. 3 times, it was blocked. Not by chance, not by delay, but by resistance. This message was never lost, it was withheld, held behind a veil that only heaven had the authority to lift. What you are about to hear is not common. It is not for the masses. It is not for wondering ears or curious eyes. It was appointed. It was sealed. And just now, God Himself gave the command, "Let them see it now." You are not forgotten. You are preserved. Every attempt you made to find clarity, to hear confirmation, to feel release, was noted in the heavenly scroll. This is not just a moment. This is the moment. The one where time, tension, warfare, and waiting collapse into divine alignment. The number 3, the number of resurrection, of divine completeness, stood as a symbol. 3 delays, 3 divine stops, 3 unseen barriers. But the 4th is where breakthrough lives. And today is that 4th. Heaven has opened it. There was interference. Interference not just in your life, but around this very message. Not because it was weak, but because it was powerful. Its arrival would confirm too much. It would heal too much. It would expose too much. That's why darkness tried to keep it hidden. But when God speaks, resistance fails. And He just said, "Let them see it now." This message is not for everyone. It wasn't designed for many. It was meant for the one who would know in their spirit when they heard it. The one who would recognize the rhythm of heaven beating through these words. That one is you. You didn't come late. You didn't miss it. Heaven was waiting on you, on your openness, your obedience, your readiness. This is your word. This is your confirmation. And now this is your access. Type "I am anointed" in the comments if you receive this message. Blessing code 1122 is now activated. The Spirit of the living God interrupts your scroll right now. Not by chance, not by coincidence, but by command. You stumbled across something that has been waiting for your spirit to awaken. You did not just find this message, heaven released it. And heaven does not release what is not ready. This is divine interruption. This is holy disruption. This is the voice behind the voice saying, "Stop. Listen. This one is for you." Before this day ends, you will know why this message was delayed 3 times. Before your head rests tonight, your spirit will testify, "God held this back until I was strong enough to receive it." The delay wasn't denial. The delay wasn't silence. The delay was protection. You are standing on the edge of something the enemy hoped you'd never see. That's why they tried to keep you distracted. That's why confusion came in waves. That's why just days ago, your soul felt like it was sinking. You were losing, you were about to be launched. Can you feel the weight in the air right now? The tension that sits heavy on your chest is not anxiety. It is spiritual activity. There has been war over this word. There has been resistance over this release. You thought your battles were personal, but they were prophetic. You thought you were just having a hard week, but it was a clash of realms. Heaven was sending something and hell knew it. That's why it got blocked 3 times. Interference in the spirit realm. Delay in the divine channel. But no more. because the Lord just said, let them see it now. And now I, Michael, appointed commander of heaven's armies, speak this with divine authority. You have been chosen to hear what others were not permitted to receive. This word is rare oil. This word is sealed scroll. This word is mantle, not motivation. And it does not rest on the unready. The scroll has been opened, and your name is on it. You are not watching this by chance. You are not part of a crowd. You are part of a calling. Let every spiritual watcher be put on notice. The permission has been granted. The seal has been broken. The voice that cried in secret will now speak in clarity. This message was not designed to trend. It was designed to transform. It was not shaped for applause. It was shaped for the anointed. And you, yes, you have been trusted with it. Heaven confirms what you feared was just your imagination. A dream was real. A shift was real. The whispers weren't paranoia. They were premonition. You've been under surveillance not just by the enemy, but by angels. We have watched and we have waited. Not because you were weak, but because what's on your life required a timing that would confuse even you. Now the time has come. Now the scroll is open. Now your moment begins. Type I receive this word in the comments if this pierce your spirit. Blessing code 7788 is being unlocked now. There has been a shadow lingering behind your clarity. You felt it. You sensed it. A 5 that would not lift. A stillness that did not feel holy. A silence that wasn't peace, but pressure. And you asked yourself, why now? Why when I felt so close? That's the mystery. That's the disruption. That's the invisible hand that tried to make you doubt what you were born to believe. You were not imagining the warfare. You were not overthinking the tension. Something, or someone, was trying to block your opening. Not all interference is obvious. Some of it wears the mask of delay. Some of it slips in quietly, through emotional exhaustion, through relational drama, through a whisper in the night that says, maybe you missed it. But hear this now. They knew you were close. The enemy doesn't attack what isn't a threat. And lately, you've been a threat to every lie they tried to wrap around your destiny. That's why the pressure increased. That's why confusion swirled. That's why your emotions felt like storms with no shore. Because you were about to see what they never wanted you to unlock. You must understand this. Not every storm you walk through was random. Some were engineered by unseen watchers, designed by spiritual saboteurs, jealous spirits who saw the light breaking around you. They knew something was about to be released. They knew you were on the verge of divine clarity. So they launched emotional attacks. They stirred up distractions. They whispered through voices you trusted. Maybe you're wrong. Maybe you're not ready. Maybe you misheard God. Lies. All of it. Lies aimed to detour a chosen vessel. You felt the emotional unrest for days now, haven't you? Like something was trying to break inside of you. Like tears were hiding under every breath. That with the weight of delayed revelation, your spirit was pregnant with a word that hadn't yet been delivered. And the resistance wasn't just blocking a message, it was blocking a moment. But now that resistance has lifted, now that delay hath been shattered, because God just said, let them see it now. What you are reading, hearing, sensing in this exact moment is heaven's answer to every question you couldn't form into words. It is the antidote to the poison of confusion. It is the clarity to the cloud. This message knew where to find you. It waited until the right hour. It bypassed every interference, every sabotage, every delay. You have been found by what was always yours. And now that it's here, the question is this: will you let go of what whispered against your promise? Will you silence the voices that told you to settle? Will you stop listening to ghosts from your past that haunt your belief? Heaven is asking for your agreement, not with fear, but with faith. This message is not just a release. It is a reclamation. It is heaven giving back what the unseen tried to steal while you slept. This is why the tears came. This is why the pressure wouldn't ease. This is why the silence felt suffocating. Because the holy unlocking was coming. And now it is here. Type "I am chosen" in the comments if you receive this message. Blessing code 666 is now surrounding you. If this message is awakening something in you, if you feel the fire of heaven confirming that this was meant for your spirit, then I invite you to partner with the mission of spreading God's word to every soul meant to receive it. When you give, you're not giving to a channel. You're sowing into a divine stream that carries healing, clarity, and confirmation to hearts all over the world. You are watering the soil of revelation, planting seeds of light in dark places. Scripture says, He gives seed to the sower and bread to the eater. And right now, God is watching over the seed you release. I believe there are angels assigned to your generosity. I believe your giving is seen as worship. And I believe your obedience opens floodgates for someone else's breakthrough. If the Spirit prompts you, you can give through the YouTube Super Thanks, channel membership, or directly through PayPal link in the description below. Every act of giving becomes a prophetic declaration. I support the move of God on this earth. Release your seed. Activate your obedience. Let heaven multiply it. Now give boldly, give prophetically, and give like someone who's carrying oil. You must understand the depth of this battle. You must realize that what was blocked, what was delayed, what felt like denial, was actually divine filtration. Heaven wasn't ignoring you. Heaven was filtering the room, filtering the environment, filtering the access, filtering the watchers. This wasn't just about delivering a message. It was about revealing the motive of those who stood near you. Not everyone who smiled was in support. Not every hand clapped from a pure heart. And so God, in His divine wisdom, permitted the blockage not to punish you, but to expose what was watching your promise. There are things that God allows not because you are being ignored, but because you are being elevated. Some delays are not about you falling behind. They are about who is still standing near you when the scroll is opened. And now, the scroll is open. And now, the release has begun. But not before heaven tested the ground beneath your feet. You asked, why did it take so long? Heaven answers, because I needed to show you what could not go with you. The truth is, being chosen attracts resistance. Being anointed draws attention, not only from angels, but also from adversaries. The greater your assignment, the more surveillance you live under. That's why your atmosphere felt heavy. That's why, for weeks now, you sensed spiritual eyes watching you in the unseen. It wasn't just paranoia. It was perception. The spiritual realm has been stirred because of what is locked inside of you. And this recent delay, this strange resistance, it was strategic. Heaven allowed it because exposure was required. God saw every hand that tried to intercept what was meant for you. He saw the silent jealousy. He saw the mocking conversation spoken behind closed doors. He saw the plans of the watchers who didn't want you to awaken. And in mercy, he paused the release, not because you were unworthy, but because the atmosphere around you wasn't pure enough for the word to be planted safely. Some things can only be released when the soil is sanctified. And today, the soil is ready. You weren't rejected. You were protected. A warfare was proof. The silence was shielding. The delay was divine. And now, with the clarity of heaven shining upon your spirit, you can finally see nothing was wasted. Nothing was accidental. Nothing was out of order. The pain was prophecy in disguise. The confusion was a covering in transition. And the silence was God standing between you and sabotage. Now, as the fog lifts, you must reframe every disappointment as preparation, every tear as traction, every unanswered prayer as alignment. You didn't miss it. You didn't mess it up. You weren't too late. You were walking through a divinely designed filter, one that revealed what could not remain with you in the next dimension of your calling. The blockage wasn't about the message being stopped. It was about you being strengthened. You are now standing in a place of holy insight, a place where the Spirit says, now that you've seen the shadows, you'll never again walk into them blindly. Heaven has equipped you through this waiting season. You are no longer naive. You are no longer unaware. You've gained vision. You've gained discernment. You've gained divine intelligence. And now, what you receive will not be stolen. This is the hour where what was once withheld will be released into purified hands. Yours. Type "I am ready" for release in the comments. Lesson code 444 is now breaking the delay. The atmosphere is shifting again. You can feel it, can't you? The subtle pressure tightening in the spirit. That unusual silence before something breaks. It's not your imagination. It's not anxiety. It is the movement of realms. What was paused is now in motion. What was restrained is now stirring. And what was blocked is now being watched. The heavens are alert. The earth is trembling. And the enemy is restless. Because something is about to move toward you. Something divinely appointed. And something demonically opposed. You need to be prepared, because the release you're stepping into will provoke a reaction. This is not just a spiritual breakthrough. It's a divine transaction. And transactions always stir opposition. There are forces that once thought they had time to distract you. But they didn't calculate God's timing. They didn't account for this very moment. And now that the release has been commanded, let them see it now. Those same forces are moving in desperation. They know something is coming to you that they can no longer stop. But they will try one last thing, to distract you before it arrives. This is your warning. Within the next 72 hours, there will be strange occurrences, unusual conversations, emotional pressure, delayed responses, sudden discouragement. You may feel a fresh wave of exhaustion. You may feel a desire to shut down or isolate. You may even feel misunderstood by those closest to you. It will come subtly, not as a storm, but as a whisper, just enough to pull you off center, just enough to blur your vision before the scroll fully unfold. But hear this now. Do not respond. Do not retaliate. Do not react. Heaven is handling the unseen. This is a sensitive hour, a sacred hour. It is the final stretch before manifestation. And like a woman in labor, the last push comes with the greatest pressure. But just because pressure increases does not mean something is wrong. It means something is crowning. You are about to see what you once could only sense. But the enemy wants you to abort it through distraction, through offense, through unnecessary conversations, through old triggers and unhealed wounds. Guard your atmosphere. You may feel the urge to confront something. Don't. You may want to explain yourself. Don't. You may be tempted to chase clarity in places that previously confused you. Don't. You're not being cold, you're being called. You're not being distant, you're being drawn into divine silence. Not everything deserves your attention right now. Not everything deserves your energy. The instruction from heaven is clear. Be still. I'm revealing more than you realize. Let me work where your words cannot. Pay attention to your dreams in these next 3 days. Pay attention to divine nudges. Pay attention to sudden drops in your spirit. They are not coincidences. They are alerts. Here are things heaven is shielding you from. Moves being made in the dark that you don't yet need to see. You may not have the full picture yet, but that's the point. God is building your trust. You are not in control, but you are under covering. Do not try to figure it all out. Do not run to old wells looking for new water. The word has already been sent. The release is already underway. The next move is not yours, it's heaven's. Your responsibility now is obedience, stillness, and absolute trust. The interference was loud, but this next instruction will come in a whisper. Be ready. Be listening. The scroll is still unfolding. Type "I will not be distracted" in the comments. Blessing code 7000 is clearing the path ahead of you. Do not fight. Do not strive. Do not engage in battles that heaven has already claimed. The Spirit of God is commanding your soul to retreat into a posture of stillness, not as weakness, but as strategy. You are in a moment where divine protection is being wrapped around you like a cloak. Heaven is whispering one instruction again and again. Stand in silence. Stay hidden. Stay covered. What's forming around you is too fragile for unnecessary movement. What's being released to you is too holy to be handled with human reaction. This is not the time to prove anything. This is not the time to convince others of what you carry. This is not the time to demand understanding. The season for defense has ended. The season for divine covering has begun. You are being pulled back, not pushed away. Hidden, not forgotten. There is safety in this stillness. There is strength in this silence. The storm is still swirling, but the instruction remains. Be still and know. You must understand, your silence in this hour is not inactivity. It is intercession. It is obedience. It is warfare without the noise. You are not powerless. You are protected. You are not overlooked. You are overwatched. There are angels standing guard. There are barriers being erected. There are traps being disarmed. And none of it requires your effort, only your agreement. Some of you have been taught to associate movement with progress, words with power, response with authority. But in this divine season, God is showing you a higher law. Heaven moves when you stop striving. When you pull back from trying to manage what's not your battle. When you let go of the need to explain, to prove, to correct, to respond. The oil flows not in chaos but in consecration. And that's where you're being led, into consecration, into sanctuary, into unseen safety. This word is heavy because the hour is holy. You are carrying something now that has weight in the spirit realm. The scroll that was once blocked hath been opened, and with it came responsibility. You're not just hearing this, you're holding it. You're stewarding it. And the Father says, protect the word. Guard what I gave you. That's why you feel the urge to separate. That's why the noise of the world feels unbearable. You stepped into a sacred frequency, and now, lesser sounds will agitate your soul. You not be alarmed if people begin to fade. You not panic if certain doors quietly shut. It is not rejection. It is repositioning. Some things must close so you do not wander back into vulnerability. Some connections must shift so your spirit can remain sharp. The Lord is not punishing you. He's protecting what's within you. What He just gave you was marked only for the chosen. And you, beloved, were chosen to receive it. Now speak this aloud over yourself. I am shielded. I am hidden. I am chosen. Let those words wrap around your spirit like fire and oil. You are not behind. You are covered. You are not late. You are unlocked. You are not wandering. You are under watch. The timing of heaven has never failed, and it will not fail you now. Don't panic if the next step doesn't appear immediately. You're not being ignored. You're being protected. Protected from premature action. Protected from wrong voices. Protected from counterfeits disguised as confirmation. Heaven has you right where you need to be. Still, sealed, surrounded. Type I am shielded by God in the comments. Blessing code 5555 is now forming a hedge of fire around your destiny. You are no longer who they thought you were. You are no longer who you thought you were. The delay did not deny you. It transformed you. The silence did not still you. It refined you. The message they tried to block, the word they hoped would miss you, has arrived, and it found not the broken version of you, but the becoming. What they tried to stop has only made you stronger. What they hoped to silence has only made your voice more precise. The delay wasn't empty, it was sacred. And in the delay, heaven was rebuilding your identity. The version of you that went into the storm is not the one emerging from it. There's a weight on your spirit now. A new stillness. A new depth. A new fire. The water that once threatened to destroy you has instead awakened you. And now, as the veil lifts, the enemy doesn't even recognize what you've become. You are not weak. You are not waiting. You are rising. Not in noise, but in power. Not in pride, but in divine perception. You have been upgraded in the spirit realm, and this shift is irreversible. Heaven says you have learned to see in silence. Now I can trust you with vision. This is no longer about survival. This is about stewardship. You've been given eyes to see past what others ignore. You've been trained in shadows. You've learned to walk by insight, not just instinct. The long night refined you. The unanswered questions stretched your capacity. The repeated delays humbled you without breaking you. And now, the throne room calls you forward, not as a beggar, but as a trusted vessel. You've been reborn, and fire was a womb. You've been reshaped, and warfare was the sculptor. You've been reintroduced, not to the world, but to your own assignment. You are no longer reaching for what was. You are no longer grasping for who you used to be. You have been recalibrated for clarity. This is not about recovery anymore. This is about reign. The weight you feel now isn't confusion. It's mental. The burning you sense in your chest isn't anxiety. It's alignment. You don't need the approval you once craved. You don't need the explanation you once begged for. The delay detached you from validation addiction. It stripped the layers of insecurity. And now you see, everything that didn't respond was divinely ordered to stay silent, so that your dependence would no longer rest in man, but in the voice that breaks the seal from heaven and whispers, "Let them see it now." What's coming next is not a rescue. It's a release. You've been empowered by the very process that almost crushed you. What you carry now cannot be manipulated. What you've gained now cannot be taken lightly. You are walking with spiritual intelligence. You are walking with supernatural discernment. You are walking with the fire of someone who has passed the test. And for those who underestimated you in the last season, they will not understand this version. But that's not your burden. Your mission has shifted. You no longer respond to critics. You respond to kingdom command. You no longer explain yourself to spectators. You align with heaven's whispers. The time of waiting has ended. The time of watching has passed. You have stepped into a divine empowerment that hell could not block. You are rising in silence. You are ascending in clarity. You are walking with keys they never knew you carried. Type "I am rising in power" in the comments. Blessing code 3003 has now been released to unlock your next dimension. And now listen closely, for the scroll is no longer sealed. The delay is no longer unexplained. Heaven is no longer silent about what was hidden from you. This is not just an awakening. This is a prophetic unveiling. What felt like denial, what looked like rejection, what moved like silence, it was divine redirection. And the Spirit of the Lord declares, you were not denied. You were diverted, because what I was preparing for you required time, protection, and separation. This word was not kept from you. It was kept for you. Heaven delayed this message because had it come too soon, it would have fallen on weary ground. It would have been trampled by doubt. It would have been stolen by distractions. You weren't being ignored. You were being secured. God needed to wait until the watchers turned away, until the manipulators lost interest, until the counterfeits exposed themselves. He needed the room to be cleared, the distractions to be silenced, the residue of the past to be broken. And now, he says, let them see it now. Because now you're ready. Now you're listening. Now you're consecrated enough to carry the revelation without leaking it in wrong places. This was never about just you hearing something. It was about heaven trusting you with something. Trusting you with a word that carries the weight of your next season. A word that will break cycles. A word that will open sealed places. A word that comes from the chords of heaven with your name marked in the margin. This isn't general encouragement. This is specific instruction. This is sacred information. This is divine blueprints for someone who hadn't been proven in the quiet. You've asked, why did I feel forgotten? Heaven answers, because I was pulling you into the shadows, away from noise, so I could whisper what the enemy couldn't intercept. That's why everything went quiet. That's why doors paused. That's why the opportunities dried up. Not because you were disqualified, but because you were being qualified for something higher. And now, the release begins. Now, the hand of the Lord is stretched out, unlocking what was sealed with your name written in fire. The blessing is not coming. It has already been set in motion. The axis is not about to open, it's already turning. And as you're reading this very word, the Spirit of God declares, I'm letting them see what was once hidden. Divine timing is now meeting divine permission. What was postponed is being positioned. What was blocked is being broken through. What was withheld is being handed to you. You didn't miss it. You didn't fail the test. You were just being aligned for perfect unveiling. Your name was spoken in the courts of heaven before this message ever reached your eyes. And the angels that warred to protect this word have now stepped aside. The delivery has been made. A scroll is unsealed. And the revelation is clear. You were always the one it was meant for. This moment is not a coincidence. This is the divine arrival of clarity. You walked through the fire. You've endured the silence. You've passed the spiritual filtration system. And now, the heavens say, let them step in. Open doors are appearing. Hidden opportunities are being revealed. Supernatural favor is now locating you. This isn't revival of emotion. This is activation of inheritance. The scroll has been read, and your name was on the decree. Type I receive the revelation in the comments. Blessing code 8888 has now been stamped across your destiny. The very fact that you're still watching means this word was written in the fabric of your destiny. And now that the prophetic seal has been broken, you have the chance to help carry this word, not just to your life, but to the lives of others who are waiting on their moment of unveiling. When you give, you are not donating, you are sowing into divine timing. You're placing seed into the soil of revelation, allowing this same message of breakthrough and clarity to reach the next chosen one. Like rivers that carry manna to the wilderness, your support helps release spiritual food to dry places. As the word declares, give, and it shall be given unto you. Pressed down, shaken together, and running over. Let your generosity become part of your spiritual warfare. I feel led to say this directly to someone. Your giving in this moment will be the very act that seals the scroll for someone else. You can respond through the YouTube Super Thanks, become a channel member, or sow directly via PayPal. The link is in the video description below. When you give, you become part of the river that carries light into darkness. So move now, obey now, and let heaven mark your seed with fire. You heard the word. You felt the shift. You've seen the signs. But now comes the part where heaven watches for your response, not just emotional agreement, but spiritual alignment. Destiny is never unlocked by information alone. Destiny is activated by decision. And the Spirit of God is saying to you right now, this word was not sent to inspire. It was sent to initiate. This is the moment where your yes matters more than ever before. 1,000 confirmations mean nothing if there's no obedience behind them. Heaven has opened the gate. The scroll has been read. The message that was blocked 3 times is now breathing in your spirit. And what you do next determines the momentum of what heaven wants to release. You cannot go back to normal after a moment like this. You cannot return to the comfort of delay. You've been called into movement. You've been summoned into response. Say it aloud. Declare it with authority. I receive what heaven kept for me. This declaration is not symbolic. It is spiritual. It is the unlocking sound. It is the seal of agreement that says, I don't just hear the word, I step into it. Every realm of destiny waits for your echo. All of heaven aligns behind the one who responds in faith. What was hidden is now in your hands, and the only barrier that remains is your resistance to move. Let that resistance fall now. Let every hesitation break. Let every old fear be laid to rest. You are not stepping into uncertainty. You are stepping into unfolding prophecy. The time of confusion is over. The days of wondering if you were chosen are behind you. This is not about feeling worthy. This is about being willing. Heaven doesn't use the perfect, heaven releases the prepared. And you, beloved, are prepared now. So step, move, worship, release, obey, speak, to, detach, forgive, will, begin. The heavens are waiting for your next action. Angels are responding to your next sound. The wind of God is breathing on your next step. This is not a message you simply watch. This is a mantle you wear, and it only rests on the shoulders of the obedient. God is saying, now that you've opened this, movement begins. That's why the enemy tried to stop this word from reaching you. That's why this message was blocked not once, not twice, but 3 times. Because the adversary knew, the moment you received it, heaven would begin aligning the pieces that felt scattered. And now, that movement is underway. Now, things that seemed stuck will start to shift. Now, doors that refuse to open will respond to your steps of obedience. Your yes today will echo in places you haven't even walked into yet. Your surrender will speak in rooms your name hasn't been mentioned in yet. Your obedience will unlock doors that were sealed not because you lack power, but because you were waiting on permission. The permission has now been granted. The heavens have said, let them see it now. So the only thing left is your action. This is your destiny hour. This is your moment of holy response. Don't just be stirred. Be sent. Don't just feel it. Follow it. Don't just watch the gates swing open. Walk through them. The path has been cleared. The watchers have been silenced. The scroll has been read. And your destiny is waiting for your voice to say yes. Type I say yes to destiny in the comments. Blessing code 9999 is activating your alignment now. There are things that happened while you were sleeping. There were transactions, unseen and unspoken, that took place in the deep watches of the night, not in the earth, but in the spirit. And you felt it, didn't you? The restlessness, the sudden shifts in your atmosphere, the early morning hours when your spirit stirred, but your mind had no language. That wasn't random. That wasn't restlessness. That was divine exchange. While you thought heaven was silent, heaven was negotiating on your behalf. There were moments you wept without words, moments you groaned without understanding, and those moments became currency in the realm of glory. The word says that your tears are collected in a bottle. Not one was wasted. Not one was ignored. Each one was a spiritual deposit, and now, the Spirit of the Lord declares, what was withheld is being released. This wasn't a delay without reason. This was a delay for redemption. God was reclaiming things that were stolen from you. Years, opportunities, relationship, resources, identity. You didn't even know how much was taken, because some of it was stolen in silence, stolen while you trusted the wrong voice, stolen while you were asleep in the spirit, stolen while you were distracted by survival. But God, in His justice, went back into those silent seasons and began the holy exchange. You gave Him your disappointment, and He gave you discernment. You gave Him your exhaustion, and He returned strategy. You gave Him confusion, and he planted clarity. You gave him delay, and he prepared double. You see, heaven doesn't just restore. Heaven reverses and returns with increase. And while the message was blocked, while your spirit waited, while the warfare raged around your mind, angels were moving through realms to retrieve what was marked for you. This is not just recovery. This is heaven's reimbursement. Not in the currency of man, but in the currency of calling, of revelation, of spiritual positioning. You lost nothing. You gained unseen weight. There were battles fought that you never saw. There were demonic contracts voided that you never signed. There were snares broken before you ever stepped into them. And now the Spirit says, I did not allow the message through until the exchange was complete. Now that it is done, let them see it. You were not ready until heaven had secured the return. But now, the scroll is open, the deal is sealed, the release is here. That sick feeling you had the other night, that wave of grief that came out of nowhere, that moment you felt like something was breaking inside you, that was not you falling apart. That was the sound of the exchange finalizing in the heavens. That was the pressure of a gate being open. That was the ripple of a divine reversal manifesting in your timeline. You weren't breaking. You were birthing. You weren't losing. You were receiving what had been locked away for such a time as this. Understand this. The silence was not empty. It was filled with warfare, with intercession, with angelic negotiation. And now the silence is over. Now, the exchange is complete. And now, the release is unlocked. Heaven has given it back, and more. Not because you demanded it, not because you earned it, but because you endured, because you obeyed, because you did not give up when the scroll remained hidden. It's happening now. It's unfolding now. The gates are open. The word has found its target. The silent exchange has been confirmed. Type heaven has given IT back in the comments. Blessing code 7171 is marking your restoration in this hour. Justice has entered the room. Divine justice. Silent justice. Swift justice. Not the justice of man, which demands evidence before it believes, but the justice of God, which sees all things, hears all whispers, weighs every motive, and executes judgment in the hidden realm before it manifests in the visible. You've been waiting for closure, waiting for clarity, waiting for the crooked places to be made straight. And the Spirit of the Lord now declares, the delay was your evidence. The resistance was your witness. The very blockage was the proof that favor was being formed in your name. You didn't see the conversations that were spoken against you, but God did. You didn't witness the sabotage, but the angels recorded it. You didn't hear the private mocking, the plotting, the slander, the attempts to discredit what heaven put on your life, but the court of heaven did. And now, in this moment of divine reversal, God is making an announcement in the Spirit. They tried to interfere, but now they will witness your elevation. The ones who whispered, "Where is their God now?" will have no choice but to watch him unfold your restoration. The ones who assumed your silence meant defeat will be stunned when your stillness births victory. The ones who thought the blocked message meant the blessing was denied, they will be publicly corrected by the evidence of what is about to surround you. This is not about revenge. This is about vindication. Not loud, not bitter, not theatrical, but holy, pure, undeniable. You see, God never forgets injustice. He only waits until the stage is clear. He waits until you've detached from the need for validation. He waits until your heart is ready to receive promotion without pride. And now, the timing is perfect. Now, your spirit is postured. And now, the elevation can come without contamination. That's why the delay was necessary. Not because he forgot to reward you, but because he was preparing to do it in a way that could not be ignored. What they tried to bury is rising. What they hoped would be silenced is about to speak louder than ever before. And the most powerful part, you won't even need to say a word. Your fruit will speak for itself. Your favor will testify. Your restoration will announce your vindication. God is preparing a table, not in secret, not in silence, but in the presence of the very ones who assumed the promise died in delay. He is not just restoring you. He is reversing the narrative. The very delay will become your evidence. The very silence will become your sound. The very word that was blocked 3 times will now go forth with a triple anointing, sealed by fire, released with clarity, and received with honor. This is not just recovery. This is justice wrapped in glory. And every eye that was watching your failure will now witness your favor unfold in supernatural ways. What they tried to hide, God is making visible. What they tried to stop, God has accelerated. What they whispered in secret, God is shouting through your testimony. You will no longer have to explain. You will no longer have to fight for understanding. God has ruled in your favor. This is spiritual justice. This is the reversal. This is your confirmation. Let them see it now. Type divine justice is mine in the comments. Blessing Code 1919 is declaring reversal in every area the enemy tried to destroy. It is finished. The scroll has been opened. The command has gone forth. And what was once withheld has now been delivered by divine decree. Hear this final seal, and let it settle deep into your spirit. What was blocked has now been released by heaven's command. This is not just the end of a message, this is the conclusion of a delay. A delay that once served as a mystery, now revealed as mercy. You were not denied. You were not forgotten. You were divinely positioned to receive this at the exact second heaven said, "Let them see it now." Everything about this message had been orchestrated. The timing, the tone, the delivery. It could not come early. It could not arrive casually. It could not be mixed into the noise of everyday life. That's why it was blocked 3 times, not by error, but by divine protection. It was only released when your spirit was ready. Only revealed when the watchers had been removed. Only unveiled when you could carry it with weight and not drop it in the hands of those who wouldn't understand it. You passed through the silence. You endured the pressure. You stood in the stillness. And now, as heaven pours out what was reserved for you and you alone, you are stepping into the clarity that confusion couldn't cancel, the power that warfare couldn't weaken, the purpose that delay couldn't destroy. You are now walking with a word that is alive, active, specific, sealed. Let this final blessing rest on your heart as a prophetic mantle. May every sealed thing open under heaven's order. May every delayed door now unlocked. May every silent prayer rise before God's throne as incense. May your name be spoken in rooms you haven't entered yet. May angels accompany your movement. And may your obedience echo louder than any resistance ever could. You are not behind. You are right on divine schedule. So as you close this message, don't walk away the same. Walk away seeing. Walk away with your hand lifted. Walk away with the confidence of one who carries proof of divine timing. This word is your witness. This revelation is your release. This scroll was written for your spirit before time began. And now, it has found its home. You are seen. You are chosen. And what was hidden is now revealed. Type IT is done in the comments. Blessing Code 2020 is now sealing your breakthrough and confirming your scroll. If this message stirred your spirit, if the timing of this word felt like heaven's fingerprint, then I invite you to do something prophetic in return. Help this word go further. Help it reach the next soul who's waiting in silence, searching for confirmation, praying for a scroll like this to find them. When you give, you are sowing into divine revelation. You are fueling a mission that pierces through delay and releases truth to those who need it most. This is not just content. This is kingdom circulation. When you give, you push light into dark timelines. You sow rivers into dry lands. You help unlock scrolls for others the way this one unlocked for you. As it is written, the generous will prosper. Those who refresh others will themselves be refreshed. I believe some of you are not just receiving a word, you're being prompted to become part of the words released to others. You can activate that support right now through YouTube Super Thanks, joining our channel membership, or sowing a direct offering through PayPal. Link is in the video description below. Your giving is a prophetic act. Your seed has a sound. So release it. Seal it. To board it. Be the vessel through which heaven reaches someone else's delay.